Hey everybody, this is Reviews by Norm on my page. Drop a like, comment, or share. First, we're going to be going into kind of what's happening around Alaska. Some areas are Juneau that affects Anchorage. I'm in Anchorage. So, lawmakers right now are urging the basically to detach from Russia companies. So, actually, some of our money is actually invested in Russian stocks, bonds, all that stuff. 0.2% of our $81 billion. What that turns into is $160 million. So not a lot, but I mean, $160 million is substantial. Um, Especially when I'm going to be talking to the school deficit, which is 40,000 roughly, what they're estimating, and this could have easily cleared it, stuff like that. Um, Kind of putting it's apples to oranges, obviously, because it's not really our money per se. It's what we invested and what we have to give back to the person that we were doing stocks with, investing on. Um, so they're trying to figure out how to detach that, go through it, especially with the sanctions going on. And then the weird part is I don't know how or if they're even going to get the money, because once we sell our stocks, we're supposed to get this money back. But we did sanctions to where now Russia doesn't, it's still foggy for me. I'm really not um, involved in the whole Ukraine because of how much information is getting out and having to dissect it. Because, I mean, if you followed it to any degree, like I was, it's stuff was being proven right, stuff was being proven wrong, stuff was incredibly fabricated with literature and also with photos. So I don't know what's really happening except for just like the obvious stuff, like nobody's sharing income with them, nobody's sharing anything with them. So I don't know how we're going to get our money out of this when and if we do the trade with Russia. Um, so that's kind of scary, but it looks like it doesn't really hold. It really doesn't hold us hostage, which is very positive light, I guess, in the circumstances of this, because you never want to be held, especially held captive by somebody that doesn't care about you. Like what's right now happening. So that's what's down the pipe. This just came out in March of this year. Um, so not really anything to come from this. So I wouldn't really be. I think this is going to be the only time I talk about it, unless something dramatic happens. Like not only do we not get the money, then it's like then this happened, this happened. Like something astronomical has to happen for me to have any investment into that, especially when it's out of our hands now, because now we're trying to fight with Russia on us specifically as a state. We have to fight with Russia to get our money back, but then our country put sanctions. It's kind of like trying to be a kid going under your parents to, you know, get stuff, but then your parents actually own it, but then you feel it's yours. So it's a weird analogy, and it's fuzzy. There's a lot of gray areas on that. So the next cool part is I think this is really good for Alaska is our airports can see extra air traffic. With extra air traffic, we actually get money from that. It's kind of like this blessing in disguise as far as these pilots become tourists. It's like people have to land here, they have to eat, they have to sleep, they might need to buy extra clothes, so on and so forth, or they might even just stay here to vacation for a little bit, especially with finally not having to wear a mask 24/7. Um, Especially if you're not sick. I'm one of those people that's like, if you're sick, yeah, don't do dumb stuff. If you're not sick, just don't do dumb stuff. That's pretty much my logic on the whole situation. Those of you that might not like it, I understand. Yeah, I mean, I wear a mask if I'm sick, or I stay home if I'm sick. So I'm not one of those like anti-maskers, but I'm also not one of those everybody needs a mask. It's again, I'm one of those gray area people. I see the sunlight, I see the darkness. Got to find a median. You can't just force people to do what you want to do, just like you wouldn't want to have somebody force you 24/7 to do what you don't want to do. Um, so it's kind of one of those things where it's going to be weird. So that's what's going to be pretty cool about this. The scary part, though, is if our airports can handle it. Um, this is Alaska. Our roads are just not good. So I can only imagine what repairs are going to be needed for the airport, let alone the upkeep. On top of that, we've been getting some pretty heavy windstorms, so I don't know how profitable this state will be if we have these windstorms that we've had just this start of this year, which are just super weird. Super weird. Um, on top of that, I thought this Ted Stevens Airport building a hotel. Yep, so I was right. So it's considering, and this was at the end of last month, to be built. I mean, they have rental cars, they have restaurants, but it doesn't have a hotel. I mean, even living here is kind of like weird that the first hotel is not close. I mean, yeah, shuttle, but leaving, going to other cities, they have hotels when you're looking out and when you're walking out. So I think it needs to happen, but also it's like it's going to be another thing that would have to be taxed. If I'm not mistaken, it would be another federal, no, not federal tax, but it'd be like another tax they would do for Alaska to make us pay for it. Since it's not going to be, I would presume it's not going to be a private business. I would have to assume, or I could be wrong. I mean, it could be, whoever pays the state the most money to do that. The only weird part is like it would be only 150 rooms. And I mean, how many flights? What is the average planes running through Ted Stevens Airport? It's the third busiest and the world's fourth busiest airport by cargo. So you're talking about over 200 countries, and let's just cut it in half because all these countries don't have airports. Let alone you have to take, up here in Alaska, you have to take to get to some places these planes that can't even handle wind to any degree. And then from there, you got to get on either a four wheeler, a sled, a mush sled, or a boat. So we'll cut it down to, we'll just go 75. Better be safer on the, a little bit more conservative on the number. Man, I mean, there's planes going all day and all night. I mean, middle of winter when it's super dark, it's just lit up over by the airport over here. I don't know about other states. 150 rooms. Maybe a airplane with just pilots, two pilots and like their wingman in there. Uh, Three. I mean, they might share rooms, so it's like there's one out of 150, or they're each gonna be like, screw this, I want my own room. Like I need space, space. All right, I was cramped with you fools for the last 20 hours in a plane. I mean, it'd be very lucrative. It would always be full. but just the amount of just fluctuation would just be intense. Um, I mean, I would go closer to 200 than that. I mean, they're in the middle, but I would go closer. So that would be, I would say that would be great for Alaska's income, a good income stream. Uh, and there's other income streams that I would suggest, but I'll do that on like another project, kind of when if I see something pop up for the news, or I'll just make my own videos, stuff that I personally feel Alaska should do. So that's the cool part of the good and the bad, I guess, of the whole Russia sanction is we could end up with more profits. Pretty crazy. This happened just today or on Wednesday. Uh, they're going to go into ancient caves in Southeast Alaska. And I don't know. I don't know about that. Looks like they went in there back in 96. Looks like they had robots already. The team will explore the caves using robots this year and in. Okay, so they're going to be starting this year and in 2023. Interesting. Well, at least you won't. Well, it depends what kind of robots they are. If they're like fuel based, or are they going to be battery, lithium ion, or NICADs to not ruin the habitat that these bones are, where these people died and stuff and lived. So that'll be something very interesting to kind of look. This project is funded by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Yeah, it makes sense. Mm. So she says that much of the terrain that is below sea level now was above ground, so more water. Interesting. 17,000 years ago. That's going to be wild. I'm very interested to see if that makes it into the museum or if it's just going to be kind of like this whole video movie kind of thing that comes out. Or live, since that's the world we live in. Could be a live visual kind of from the robot. Hopefully, I don't see aliens. No, I'm playing. It'd be scary though. I ain't gonna play. I ain't gonna lie. If something runs across the screen, I'm just gonna shut my computer off. I don't need to see any more than that. Mm, so Providence is relaxing their visitation guidelines amongst the lower COVID cases. In the past few months, Alaska went from a high of more than 3,600 cases back January 24 of this year, and to a little more than 200 cases reported on March 1st of this year. So they feel that and they took the threat level from red to orange to allow visitors to come in more, um, become more manageable due to the vaccines. I also wonder if they like uh, the eating habits or whatnot. I'm big into like just the full circle of like, people need to take care of themselves. Yes, vaccines are good. Eating habits, your nutrition with the eating habits, and then your mental state and your physical state. That's how I look at everything. If you're sick and from anything, I always say like, what's your eating habits, what's your sleeping habits, and what is your physical habits and your mental state. Those are super important to me, especially where I came from is like I used to be a butterball when I was a kid. People still don't believe me to this day, but you know, um, I was great at rolling downhill. That was pretty much what I was good for back when I was younger. And then, I started working out. And I guess I was probably depressed as a kid because I played video games a crap ton. I still play video games here and there, but not to the degree of uh, my teens and my early 20s. Obviously, having kids now, really ain't got no time for that. Um, but So my mental state was bad, my physical state was bad, and my eating habits were bad. As I tell people, I was going, um, round after round against Baskin Robbins. I just never wanted to lose against those 31 flavors. So uh, stuff like that. Um, and it was, it was bad. Like, I'm not going to say like I was in good state at all. So it was my physical, my mental, and then my eating habits. And I did also mess with my sleeping habits, to where I couldn't sleep well. Go to bed, wake up a couple hours, try to doze back off, all over the place. Now and then when I got fit going into my teens and my uh, you know, pre-adult life, then it was like my running habits were good, or my workout habits were good, my eating habits were good, my mental state was tenfold way better, and then it was my sleeping habits and everything else followed, and it's I now keep up now with all of that. Of course, drink a little bit too many beers a couple times, but I do eat my steaks, my vegetables, my upkeep on my vegetables, and I show my children that is very important, to being able to manage yourself properly. Um, and it's easier, it's like once you start actually like doing those things, life gets easier. Um, per se, you'll still have to do the work. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's work, but after the work, then you get to reap your rewards. So that's kind of my whole scope on the COVID thing is, yeah, the flu's bad, but make sure you can take the hits. And that's my personal belief on anything. Um, Alaska lawmakers weigh in to do a health department split. Still learning about this. I'm not in the medical field. Just going to be honest. Hopefully, you notice that. That's why I really don't talk about COVID, to the degree a lot of other people do, um, because I don't like debates. I find it like somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, and I see a lot of people when they do debates, they start taking these kidney shots, uppercuts, and then it devalues the actual conversation. So I really take myself out of a lot of things that, if I don't see a discussion, something that has an actual value, because I don't find debates really valuable, because it's especially like the way that it is now, like people will just punch at each other. But I digress. With this health department split, they're talking about being able to make it two different agencies. Um, you know, the prior governors considered breaking up the department, but never advanced to a plan to do so. Dunleavy proposed a split last year, but withdrew the plan after his office cited technical issues. So I guess there's just something the logistics and the mechanics of being able to split up the health department seems not very easy, especially when you have Senator David Wilson out in Wasilla. And he's a Republican. I don't really care what you are. If you actually do right for the people, then I'm just gonna call your name. This whole Republican, Democrat, liberal, undecided, and all this other stuff. I'm like, I don't care. What are you trying to do? Do you have the drive to do it? And are you willing to actually have ideas to share that could show results? A lot of the things that I do read about and hear about is pie in the sky, but there's not a plan in place, and the plan is like so. This is the best way I can say it, is just it's so basic to where you can't complete it. And what I mean by that, it's like this is how you fix your car. If it makes a sound, just put oil in it. and stuff like that. And I know it's very dumbed down and basic, but that's just when I see how people have these plans and these dreams, and then they show you the outline. You're just like, is it this easy and stuff like that? So that's where I like this, because they were real with, they'll need to propose a cleanup bill to fix any problems with the wording as they go through it. Ivy, I'm gonna butcher her last name and I'm very sorry, but Espinozel, S Espinozel. A slower, more methodical approach to this is warranted. So it just seems like there's a lot of things that this will impact if this decision makes it through, to where it's going to be pretty hairy of a thing. So that's pretty much what I have on that. So went on for a little bit long. I'm gonna have shorter ones, work on it as I go. If you have any comments, words of wisdom, advice, critiques, hit me with them. That stuff does not bother me. What bothers me is if you're lying to me. That's pretty much what I live by. Is you take me for a fool, it's going to end up being you. So have a good night. This is a review by Norm. Take care.